Hi, good morning. It's Mark Owen from Moose Marketing and PR, the editor of Punchline magazine, and welcome to Punchline Talks, the business breakfast briefers, where I, with a panel of experts, go over the morning's business news and the individual business sectors and the sectors that they work in. And what's caught their eye also in this week's Punchline, punchline-gloucester.com. Today I've got a fantastic panel. I've got Talitha Nelson, the CEO of Gloucestershire Community Foundation. She's been on the show a few times. We've got Steve Gardner, who's got his own news. Steve is from Visit Gloucestershire and Hatton Court Hotel Group. We've got Phil Martin, the Managing Director of assets management company Commercial Properties Ltd, and they've helped develop the Brewery Quarter. And we've got James Strickland, CEO of Neptune. Very nice too. Anyway, let's move on to the panel. Let's start off with Steve. Steve, what have we got in the newspapers today, please, mate?
Morning, Mark. So my frontline, clearly in working in travel, I'm always keen to see what's going on. This morning's biggest news is about the restrictions lasting until summer for me. Obviously, that's a huge decision and impact on the hospitality sector, particularly for those desperate to get back to work. We've all been furloughed for a year now, and it would be great to, almost a year now, and it would be great to get some idea of when we're going back to work and actually when people can start enjoying themselves again. So yeah, that's the big news for summer restrictions. And then we're being urged by the Telegraph to also consider securing a summer staycation now because of the boom on not being able to go abroad without vaccination cards. So it's twofold. Wait until the summer, but everybody's going to be out trying to get away all at the same time.
Okay, right. Okay. I mean, yes, we've already booked our place to Lundy Island already. So
already organised. I think that does give there is optimism for the sector, knowing that June, July, August, if that's the target 3 months, that business clearly will be hopefully booming, because we're all going to be encouraged to staycate again this summer. So we can all but hope that really helps move the sector along through those 3 months. And yeah, that's my top stories for today.
Okay, Talitha, thanks very much, Steve. Talitha, what have you got for us?
Well, I don't want to mention Gloss Rugby, so we'll move on very, very swiftly. There's a few things I did want to really reflect on this week in terms of historical making in America, and I know the inauguration had us gripped. I just wanted to focus on hopeful things. Obviously, I work in the third sector, and we really do look for leaders that inspire us, and the poet Amanda Gorman was just absolutely amazing. And I think the first time this week that somebody has really inspired me, and hopefully she says in 2036 she's going to run for president, and I'm sure she'll be voted in, so wait for that year. But I just think we need hope and we need to be inspired, so I think just a little bit of a reflection on this week, and really shining a light on those that give us hope. And it's lovely to see it's young people coming through here. I think locally, in terms of some interesting pieces around digital poverty. It's a new poverty, and something that the obvious poverty areas such as basic human needs, something like digital has become a reality in terms of poverty, accessing services, and isolation and loneliness for young people, especially home working, those houses without devices. So I've got some good news around that, some interesting developments. And then on the other side, around mental health, the whole point around this isolation, loneliness piece, mental health is really suffering. So like Steve says, we do need hope, and we need to hopefully have a roadmap, and some of us being able to understand the way forward in business and in personal lives. So a little bit around business and a little bit around the third sector.
Thanks very much, Talitha. All right, let's move on to James. James, what have you picked out for us today, please, sir?
Hi, good morning. Yeah, my big part is obviously in the hospitality sector with Neptune Rum. Really, the worry around the number of pubs and restaurants that are closing, and already they're saying that 2021 will see more closures than 2020, and that was up to over 10,000. And I think that's obviously a very big concern for communities, for people that live in villages, for the Gloucestershire business. And I think the hospitality sector, with a big drive to try and get somebody in the government that supports the hospitality sector more, is really important. And I also think that the funding that the government has given the hospitality sector really has been a bit poor, and they've taken the brunt of the closures, the openings, the closures. The cost of all of that is clearly taking its toll, and there's a big worry that this sector is going to take a huge hit. So again, like the others, I think the impact on community, people, self-isolation, not being able to go out, and I think people are getting it. The other concern I've got is that people are getting a little bit, they used to support their village pub by getting a takeaway, but that kind of is veering away a bit. So I'd like to see a bit more support and help from for the hospitality sector, particularly establishments.
Well, it must be tough. It must be tough for you, James, because obviously you distribute to the pubs, and if it goes, I mean, you're right. I've got the piece here from the Telegraph. It says pandemic wipes out 6,000 city centre licensed venues.
Yeah.
I mean,
and in the Times today, they're talking.
What's really sad about it as well is that these are all pretty good businesses.
Yeah, and they're hardworking people, and it's like I say, it's the impact on just the community and people's way of life, really. And I think the recovery of the hospitality will be very slow, and there is a bit of a worry there. But yeah, I mean, with me, it's interesting, really, because although the pubs and the hospitality sector are absolutely, pretty, from a sales perspective alone, our online sales and e-commerce and this future way that people want to live, and online cocktail demonstrations and people exploring different drinks has rocketed. I mean, we had record sales through the Christmas period. The dry January has helped us because not many people are doing that either, and therefore people are wanting to drink at home and explore different drinks. So from a rum perspective, people have been. We've had a really good. We had a really good quarter, and there's a big focus on doing that. That also worries me from the hospitality sector, because people, this online shopping that people get really used to, is a bit of a worry also from people that own restaurants and bars and work hard and employ a lot of people.
What I think you hit the nail on the head is all those young people that work in the hospitality sector. That might be their first job, and they're not going to be, if they don't have the restaurants and the bars and the coffee shops and everything to get those first jobs, where else are they going to go? How are they going to get employment?
Yeah, and the student employment rates, and the struggle to get part-time jobs and all that kind of stuff has a big impact.
Now, we'll come back to your e-commerce. Sorry, Talitha, because I want to go over to Phil, please, if that's all right. Phil, welcome to the show. Thanks ever so much for joining Punchline Talks.
Hi, Mark.
So you guys, your asset management company, and you run the Cheltenham Brewery Quarter.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That must be a tough sector, just like James is talking about here. I've got a piece here in the Sun. I don't know if you've seen it, but it is actually all about how the High Street, Oxford Street, is changing with all the big brands going, all the rest of it. So I know I've got to throw you, before I go into your newspapers, whatever you picked out, is that I mean, how is it working out at the Cheltenham Brewery at the moment? Last time I was there, it was really buzzing, and just heard from James about the hospitality sector. You're in the retail sector.
Well, it's both. Actually, it's more probably hospitality than retail in terms of the tenant lineup. So, it has been a challenge over the last sort of 10 months, and it looks like there's going to be a bit more pain on the way. James touched on, you know, kind of nationally, the impact of these restrictions on the sector. I mean, more localised, if you look at the Brewery Quarter in Cheltenham, it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, in the last sort of 10 months over the pandemic, we've been quite fortunate. We've managed to secure some really good new tenants. The Alchemist opened up back in April. You would maybe seen before Christmas that we escape rooms that had opened, and unfortunately they then had to close again. We've got F45, which is a hip workout gym operator that are just ready to open their doors. They're fully fitted out, ready to go. And we've got 2 other tenants that are now signed up, restaurants, and we're ready to go. And we're talking to a few other operators, because there's no doubt that with this, although there are going to be a lot of casualties and it's really unfortunate, there's going to be opportunity as well. So hopefully, you know, the signs are going to be quite good. And, you know, when we are able to go out and enjoy ourselves again and spend some money, hopefully the public will do that. And, you know, the fear won't be out there at that point in time.
I think if you can hang on, if you run a pub or a restaurant, if you can hang on, get to the end of the pandemic, I think you're going to make an absolute killing. I do. Yeah, I would just, you know, agree with James there, that I do think that support from central government now is really, really critical, because they have been made a little bit of a scapegoat, I feel, in terms of the pandemic, and I think it's a bit unfair, really. Yeah, I totally agree. If you're in the wedding industry as well, you know, it's absolutely devastating. I could just very quickly. So, what did you pick out for the newspapers front? Because I'm sorry, I
sure. Well, I had hoped to take a kind of Ron Burgundy light-hearted approach to the news, but reading the newspapers, there wasn't that much light-hearted in there, to be honest. So the one that I picked out was just a kind of an opinion piece in the Times, and it's one that's kind of quite pertinent, I think, at the minute to so many people. And it was about how we're going to salvage the education of children as a result of this, and these continued lockdowns and school closures. And you know, Ian Martin, who writes it, he makes some valid kind of suggestions and points that I agree with. There doesn't seem to be enough kind of focus, I don't think, on particularly like the mental well-being of these children being at home, who associate home with relaxation, playtime, and now they've been thrusted into an environment where they're expected to work. And, you know, I have a 6-year-old daughter who are trying to homeschool, and it is a real challenge. And the good thing about this piece is Ian Martin is basically saying, look, how can we get out of this? And I know it might be slightly contentious at the minute, but I do think that, you know, clearly the infection rates in children, children are not generally getting ill from the virus, so the concern's more probably with the teachers. And I just think, why are we not getting teachers as a priority on the vaccination? It's so important. And I just think with the scale that they're doing now and how quick they're rolling it out, you could probably get all the teachers done within a week. And then we would be able to get, hopefully, most of the kids back in the classroom. Because it's so, you know, in society, the poorer children are the ones who are going to really be hit by this. And they don't need an iPad. They need to be back in the classroom. That's my view. And I just think that, you know, when you read the newspapers now and they're talking about, you know, even talking about September, I just think it's such a failing on those children. So sorry to put a negative one out there, but that's
no.
I agree.
I think that leaves us very nicely back over to Talitha, obviously, who works in the charity sector, and talk about mental health earlier. You must hear this all the time then.
So there is provision for vulnerable children. They're still allowed to go back into schools at the moment, but it's the children that fall in between. So where you know that there's vulnerable children, they're the ones that are getting support at the moment. But there's huge amounts of poverty in our county. I think just relating to both community and the high reliance on hospitality, a national report came out to say Gloucestershire was one of 9 counties most vulnerable to COVID, which was pretty shocking. You know, we're listed as one of 9 counties in the whole of the UK because of our high reliance on hospitality and the event sector. And the knock-on is onto the charity sector. So the charities that we work with, there's around 5,000 organisations working in our county. About 3,000 are registered. Now, those organisations have stepped up where there's gaps, where there isn't provision. And the conversations I'm having with chief execs and leaders saying that this is the toughest time they've ever had in the sector. The need has grown dramatically across all areas, mental health being number one. Suicide rates are going up, real fallout from the pandemic. And I think, you know, there's also really amazing work going on, especially with children and around supporting vulnerable people. But when we talk about digital poverty, and the charity Times has just put out a message, and it's something we've been working on in the county around those children that do fall through the gaps, that are at home without access to learning. What was really amazing, and nobody had heard of at the time, is Xboxes and smart TVs. You can now access learning. So if you haven't got a laptop and you haven't got a smartphone, etc., in your home, maybe you've got an Xbox, and a lot of families do have Xboxes. So it's trying to find other ways and new ways of helping and supporting vulnerable people. But it's in lack of information sharing. The other side is allowing, once you've got a device, can you get the access to the internet and broadband in this county? So there's varying degrees of good broadband, but actually organisations, big key companies like Vodafone, etc., were allowing free access, unlimited access on the broadband for vulnerable people. So there has been some fantastic solutions, but there's still a long way to go, and it is short-term measures. So, but the knock-on of our county around hospitality and the events sector, I'm a co-founder of an events business. So my husband lost all his business last year on that particular business, and we're not sure what the roadmap is this year. So the events sector, and as Glastonbury announced last night, the fallout from that of the live event sector, it's so many people of so many different different backgrounds, whether it's lighting, technicians, musicians. It's a whole web and network of people that are going to be very worried about the future. So our county is interrelated between heavily reliant on business and hospitality sector, and the knock-on our community.
Thanks, Tally. I totally agree with you on that. I just want to say as well, I totally agree with Phil, by the way, about getting the kids back into school and inoculating the teachers. To me, it's a no-brainer. Let's get them done. Anyway, I'm going to go back over to Steve. Steve, first of all, congratulations. That's £100,000 that you have managed to get from Gloucestershire County Council to, we talk about the hospitality sector, to help market or what's that £100,000 mate for? Can you explain to the guys and explain to the viewers what's that 100,000 for?
Yeah, so about a year ago, before the pandemic, we recognised quite quickly as a sector, and as it's been echoed today a year on, tourism isn't nationally represented very well, and individual regions are where the stronger brands live. So our competitor destinations like Yorkshire, Cumbria, Cornwall, we recognise all those brand names. And before the pandemic, we already knew as a county that this was something we would have to work on. The pandemic came along, became ever more prevalent that Gloucestershire was, you had to be a member of an organisation in the county to get support. Then the growth hubs got grant funding and they can support wider business communities. But coming back from the pandemic and into a recovery phase, right at the moment we're not yet in recovery. So I approached Gloucestershire County Council with a bid and a proposal to really support the hospitality community with an element of marketing in there. But tourism isn't just about marketing your destination. We need businesses to come back stronger. We've lost an awful lot of our colleagues who not in the literal sense of death, but in terms of our business neighbours. And there are now pockets of gaps around our county. And if we want to become a destination and a serious place for people to visit, we need to really make sure that when they come to Gloucestershire, there's lots of awareness of what you can do across the county so that all businesses can start to recover, because we spilled crowds from where we've seen over tourism in the past in places like Bournemouth on the Water. They are our draw. Let's draw them in, but then tell them all about the fantastic places across the county so that all the businesses can really benefit from a recovery. So the money's there for a recovery strategy. It's a tourism strategy development between now and the end of March, and that is a collaborative document, public sector, business stakeholder engagement and community sector the resident survey will go out. So everybody's going to have their say in terms of how they've been impacted and how important tourism and visitor economy is for them. If you live here, you've got an awful lot of experiences on your doorstep. We talk about mental health and well-being. When we're all allowed out, we've got great outdoor spaces, we've got great businesses offering activities that can all help child and adult mental health, and that's all part of visitor economy. So we're really here to build a strategy, plan what activities we can focus on, manage the county better. We need to extend this further up the chain on a national level. It does need more representation to secure a better future. If this happens again in whatever capacity, we can't end up defaulting to this kind of situation. We must learn from it, and in order to help our children come back and develop at school and in the home life when we go out the weekends, it's all got to work in synergy together.
How do we get in contact with you, Steve, to get involved?
At the moment, I've had about 120 responses direct to my email, which is steve@visit-gloucestershire.uk. By all means, get in touch if you've got an opinion, want to get involved, whether you're a resident, whether you work in the community sector, the public sector, the private sector. Everybody is entitled to be involved in this by way of engagement, contribute, build back better together.
Thanks ever so much, mate. And like I say, congratulations and good luck with all the paperwork for Gloucestershire County Council that you're going to have to do.
Oh, it's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, there'll be lots and lots. We probably won't see you for a while. Anyway, James, I'd like to talk to you. Congratulations, it sounds like to you as well. You had a bumper Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it went very well. Yeah, people's buying habits have continuously changed. Yeah.
Yeah,
and then you know, I mean, it's the online, the gift range, people buying. So you know, to give you an idea, in September we were selling about 5 cases a week of Neptune rum on Amazon. In January we're selling 100 cases a week. You know, people's buying habits have completely changed. So yeah, I mean,
the bottle.
It's you know, and normally in this kind of market, you know, the on-trade and the hospitality sector would be, you know, over 70% of the revenue coming through the door, because all the bars and all the restaurants would be very busy, you know, with a lead up both into Christmas. So yeah, I mean, I think the way the market is changing and people's buying habits have definitely changed as a result of the pandemic.
Just can I ask you then, if you're delivering directly to the punter, you're kind of cutting out the middleman. So is the business more profitable?
The business is definitely more profitable. Although I have you know, and Amazon is obviously, you know, has a fantastic draw in terms of people wanting to buy product. But yeah, I mean, you know, you've still got your challenges around packaging and costing and, you know, environmentally friendly, and you know, Neptune rum is 100%, you know, natural ingredients and recyclable and all the packaging that goes with it. So, you know, you have challenge on your cost base, and then of course that we've had a bit of an, you know, coming straight out of the new year with Brexit already. We've got a lot of challenges around export. You know, and the cost of the packaging and product.
It's funny you should mention exporting, because I was reading the papers also about the cost of these big craters. You know, the containers has shot up, and we were interviewing the other day Daniel O'Neill from ProCook, and he was saying they've got massive problems there with product coming in and out of the UK at the moment with Brexit and with the containers. Very, very interesting chat to get a chance.
I think that is a big challenge for British business and Gloucestershire businesses that rely on both import and export going through the channel at the moment. You know, we sent a container to Germany but just before Christmas, and it's still not arrived. And the paperwork that goes with it. So I think we're just going through. I think it will all come out and it will all be okay. But I think we're just going through a lot of challenges, and you know, everywhere you're reading at the moment, the knock on to people's livelihoods and mental health. And you know, even if you look at the paper this morning, you know, again as well, you know, the rise in living costs and the people that are borrowing money to pay day-to-day debts and day-to-day living expenses, really. And that's a bit of a worry for for the market coming out of this pandemic, I think there's going to be a lot of pain.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, mate. And congratulations again. So that's a great success story. So Phil, if I come back over to you, one of the big issues, lots of things they're talking about, is obviously, will people go back to the office? Now, you've got your retail sector, you've got your hospitality sector. I know you rent out some of the office space there as well, don't you, at the Cheltenham Brewery?
Yeah.
How do you see that? Do you think people will go back to the office, or do you think it's, it'd be kind of London centric where people stay away? What's your view on that?
It's an interesting one, that, because I think at the minute we don't know how, the full extent of what the pandemic has done. I mean, certainly at the minute it looks like it has changed the kind of the office working and the home working. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel at the minute that back in the summer it was almost kind of a novelty working from home. Hey, isn't this great? And now in this lockdown now, I think most people kind of feel, no, this isn't enjoyable anymore. We actually like going to the office, having that social interaction, meeting people, being able to go out, just walk the high street, grab a coffee. So I actually think that there is certainly going to be a really strong place for the office, to come back after this. Now, might be a bit more flexible, and certainly I think probably in London, where there's people have to have quite long commutes, I think employers may be more flexible, and they might then be able to get a bit more productivity out of them. I think certainly in the regions, and what I'm hoping for is that actually people will want to go back. I know I do. I don't know about you guys, but I'm fed up being at home. We really am. And we've got about 50,000 square foot of office in the Brewery Quarter. Some really good tenants. It's great because we need them in there, because it kind of creates our ecosystem, because those office workers are out there, spending money in the hospitality venues, in the retail. So there's that knock-on effect. So we need to encourage people to come back. I'm not a big advocate for pushing the home working, I must say, but I mean, there will be some changes, but I don't know the exact extent of it yet. I think maybe like lease structures might become a bit more flexible, going forward, but
your lease, the way that you lease out the properties might have to be a bit.
Yeah, more. I mean, standard kind of institutional leases are sort of 15-year terms and whatnot. And I just think that maybe for both landlords and tenants, having a bit more flexibility might be the way forward. I quite like the more kind of the co-working office environment. We've got in the Brewery Quarter now, we've got Hub 8 in there, which is co-working for cyber security. I think it's a great business model, and I think that in the future, there's going to be a lot more of that. But no, I really hope that people do, come back, because I think the whole town will benefit.
I totally agree. Actually, I think it will, because as you just said, creativity and spontaneity at work, and we've talked a lot with other people about the office cooler conversations and things like this. But like you've just said, it's dark, it's gloomy, it's raining. It's bloody miserable, and I think a lot of people, I hate to say this, I've kind of had it up to the back teeth of trying to work with the kids, with their partners. I mean, it's quite difficult for lots of us. Very interested about the tenant side of things as well, because obviously there's a lot in the papers about how companies are changing their commercial contracts moving forward as well. Just very quickly, do you think the cinema industry will recover? Because you obviously got the cinema in your place. Yeah,
well, I mean, again, it's certainly got its challenges, hasn't it, at the minute? And I think when we've spoken to Cineworld, what they told us is really what would have happened over 10 years in terms of kind of home screening has happened in 10 months, and that is a concern. But what they're trying to do, and what they've done at the Brewery Quarter, and if you've been there fairly recently, is they continue to up their game and provide something new. And they recently put the VIP experience in. We've got the IMAX, etc. And it's just giving the customers something a little bit more than what you can get at home. And I still think certainly that families and couples and whatnot, they enjoy going out to the cinema, and having a bite to eat beforehand. So it's an experience, isn't it, that you're not going to get in your home. So the key thing for the cinema industry is the movie producers giving them the product to actually be able to screen, and that literally is whether or not they survive. And I'm hoping then that there isn't going to be this continued delay of these blockbusters, because they're just getting a bit too greedy. Because if they do fall, they're going to, the movie producers will massively miss out as well. So, I'm hoping that sort of by Q2 maybe this year, that the cinemas will be open and they will have some products that they are able to screen. Because the movie slate over the next sort of 24 months is absolutely fantastic. When you look at what's out there, they just need the opportunity to show it.
Well, I'll definitely come and out to your place to watch James Bond. How about that when that comes out?
Fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up, guys, because time is gone. Would you believe it? We're nearly come to the end of the show. So just very, very quickly, we're going to go over the stories and Punchline that have caught your eye. So, Steve, what's caught your eye in Punchline this week, please, buddy?
Yeah, you reported on 2 days ago about pubs still waiting for Christmas lockdown help, and I think that's again compounding problems for businesses trying to survive to be there when we can reopen, and the fact that they're waiting for grant money still towards the end of January isn't helping matters. We want to build back better and stronger. We've really got to change this kind of culture that we're caught up in, where it's all slow and last minute. Let's really get a kick up the bum and get this sorted.
And of course, you were on Punchline yesterday as well, sir. Talitha, what's caught your eye this week, please?
Well, this pandemic has driven a real pet industry. We can see the price of dogs that were, I know when I was looking at my spaniels, at £700 are now 3,000. Pets at Home, I think you've done a piece around, they've lifted sales by 302 million. So Pets at Home is doing very, very well. So it was interesting when I was looking at buying chickens in the pandemic, the queue for chickens, who would have thought? And all the associated products. I do have the chickens now, but trying to get bits and pieces. I tell you what, being in any pet industry, I think you're doing really well.
Place to be. I can see James already thinking about that. He'll probably get there next. James, what have you picked up from Punchline this week?
I'm just delighted that we've got some support for Cheltenham Racecourse with St James's Place. I think that's been really good. I think the whole of Cheltenham and the Gloucestershire community, need that racecourse and the support that they're giving them. So, I'm delighted to see that support in there as well. And I don't think you mentioned that I'm hoping that Cheltenham beat Man City tomorrow in the FA Cup, which is live on Sky Sports. So I hope that win for the town, because if it was a normal life, the whole town would be going crazy tomorrow.
I totally agree. We'd go absolutely potty, wouldn't it? No, yeah. Good luck to Cheltenham tomorrow. Phil, what stories caught your eye then? Just as a very quick wrap up.
Yeah. Okay. So normally when we're looking on Punchline, obviously some great news stories on there. But what caught my eye was just looking at what's on, because normally in the region we have such great events and whatnot. And I guess it's just a little bit sad, isn't it, that all what we've got at the minute is so many closures. Slimbridge, the Lido. Talitha just said about Glastonbury. I just thought to myself, wouldn't it be great now if there was this roadmap going out there? So suddenly what you're able to put on there now is that these, when they're back open, when they're looking at reopening, even if it's just tentative dates, so that people can start, planning, businesses can plan, and people can almost have some hope that they can go out and enjoy themselves again. Because normally that's such a good section that you can click on and find out what's going on in the town in the region, because usually it thrives and does so well, and it's just such a shame at the minute. But hopefully it won't be too much longer.
No, I think it'll all be coming back. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thanks ever so much for joining Punchline Talk. Thanks to the panel. Thanks for watching. Hey, please stay safe. Thanks very much.